Welcome to the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast with KOMO Sports Director Niko and Najee Moye.
Well, hey there, and welcome to a playoff primer edition of the KOMO Sports End Zone podcast. I'm Niko alongside Najee Moye. And before we even break down anything, potential matchups, thoughts about this team, I want to give my guy Najee some props here, because back in August, we did the season predictions, and I said 10 or 11 wins. You said 12 or 13, and we were both undershooting it. But you were much closer.
Vegas had it at 7, which
7
I
and a
still
half.
think is insane.
Yeah,
but
you showed more faith than most, is my point.
Because I have 4 eyes on the Seahawks at all times.
Nice.
No, but that's the thing, though, because I'm coming from the East Coast. I was born in New York City, lived in Florida, moved here about 5 years ago, and I didn't know the West Coast bias, or East Coast bias was a thing.
Oh, it is.
Until I moved here, and let's not even talk about that. Let's just talk about how proud we are about the Seahawks. This year, 14 wins, first round bye, NFC champions for the first time in a few years.
Yeah, since 2020.
NFC West champions, I'm sorry. And how about that? Year 2 of the Mike McDonald era, and we're back at the top of number 1 overall in the NFC, first round bye, home field advantage in Lumen Field.
Which is huge.
Niko, you were in San Francisco last week, and I was like, Niko, you don't have to leave again until hopefully.
I should have just camped down there, although there's going to be some great playoff games in the meantime.
That's true, but hopefully you may end up going back to San Francisco.
Yeah, that's
Santa
the hope.
Clara.
That's the hope. First week of February,
in about a month. Yeah,
and I think that what's really impressive about this Seahawks team, well, there's a lot of things that's really impressive about it. You can start with Mike McDonald, the mad scientist, the guy that is just so cerebral, but also down to earth. And for Mike to have the total package as a coach, that he has such a great defensive scheme, an eye for the game that he can call it. In fact, Julian Love was saying one of the things the team did differently was that Mike McDonald has these, okay, here's what we're going to install this week, the defensive formation or plays, whatever you want to call it. But he also put in the explainer as to why he was installing that. So Julian was explaining that in certain games, and he was specifically talking about the 49ers game, that anytime Mike called that defense, like, you knew what he was expecting. You weren't just like, okay, we're going to go out there and perform this defense, which is what a lot of coaches do. Right. Mike is just so down to earth and personal. He connects with his guys. And so that there was an understanding and a respect that, okay, we're doing this defense because Mike thinks this is going to happen. And at the same time, we're talking X's and O's, we're talking logistics there, but let's not forget that, we're also talking about it from the perspective that he has connected and made a culture there.
Yeah, these guys obviously trust him. I mean, if I'm drawing up plays and I just tell people to run plays, they will run plays because they're professional athletes, and professional football players, But if someone tells you to do something, why they're telling you to do something, like, oh, he knows that they're going to do a quick slant.
Yeah,
I should probably try to jump this, maybe, or they are maybe going to do a screen, or they're going to run, and we need to do this, It adds a level of depth, and these are all smart football players on the offense and defensive side. And the Seahawks, I gotta tell you, this organization from top to bottom is all time. Just especially where they're now. I mean, just doing something a couple years ago, coming after a legend leaving the team and Pete Carroll, just to go and hire what is probably the biggest head coaching hire in the past maybe 4 or 5 years, looking at where the Ravens are now.
Yeah, looking at Baltimore fans saying, man, if we could have just held McDonald for another couple of years.
And we saw how McDonald kind of led that defense. Obviously, the players are put in place. And, the Ravens defense a couple of years ago was intense.
Right.
Was intense and was known for being intense, hard-hitting, and a smart defense. And it's like a polar opposite of what's happening now. And their team is maybe looking, towards a rebuild. Meanwhile, the Seahawks are number 1 season in the NFC West champions, 14-win year. How about it? And beating up on the San Francisco 49ers, getting the lick back from the first game of the year on the last game of the year.
Yeah, there's just so much to love there. And that is the culture. Like, somebody asked me the difference, and I can't remember if it was Shannon O'Donnell or Mary Nam here, but I think it was Shanny. Somebody was asking me, what's the difference between Legion of Boom and this year's team? And I had to think about that for a minute. Both incredibly talented.
It's a fair question.
Legion of Boom and now Dark Side Defense
Dark
has been
Side
called for the last month, which is such a cool as hell name.
Yep.
And I think the one difference I come back to, and this doesn't mean one's better than the other or anything like that. That all remains that's for somebody 10 years from now to decide when this dark side defense has run its course. And then you can look back at the results of both.
Sure.
But the difference is the Legion of Boom was built with that chip on its shoulder. Like, I'm going to kick your butt and I got something to prove here. This dark side defense is actually, and I hate to say it this way with a game like football that is violent, but it's built on love.
Mm.
And what I mean by that is
the power of friendship.
Remember Ernest Jones backing up Sam Darnold when he had that bad game in LA,
right?
F-bombs left and right. I still love that. You know why? He was standing up for his dude. This defense takes pride in trying to help out other facets of this team. And we've talked about this on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, okay, the offense was sputtering a little bit against the Niners. I mean, the run game was working. When I say sputter, like run game was working, but they weren't putting points on the board. Here come the Niners inside the red zone. Defense comes up with a pick because of course they did. Yeah. And we've seen it time and time again this year. The defense makes the key play that it has to. And they're doing it because they want to help their teammates. Like, okay, listen, they're doing it because they're football players. They want to win, all that. But there's this extra emphasis and motivation. Like, okay, we got to come through for our guys. Whereas Legion of Boom was just like, I'm going to knock you on your ass because I have to. Like, that's the idea here. Yeah. And so both are effective in their way. And it doesn't mean like these guys aren't dogs on defense. Of course they are.
There are
like
dogs.
Ernest Jones is a dog in every way, and I love it. He's one of my favorite players to watch. And that's not to say guys in Legion of Boom didn't love. Like, that's not like they're mutually exclusive. But I'm saying like the root and the foundation of it is built on something really profoundly different. But at least in 2025, we're seeing they're both equally as effective.
You know, you talked about the defense. We've talked about the defense. This whole podcast has been defense heavy, as it should be. Can we just shout out one guy?
Go for it.
Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Well, I was so concerned. I'm not going to lie. At the beginning of the year, I was like, Sam Darnold from Minnesota, he had a hot year in Minnesota. Yeah. Anyone can have a hot year throwing the Justin Jefferson all year. Believe me. Hey, he showed us he's a game manager. He can win you the game. He cannot lose you the game. Those are three things our quarterback needs to be able to do. If you need to win the game, throw 4 touchdowns, you can do that. If you need to maybe just stay out of the way and just kind of keep the ball in bounds, he's trustworthy. And he, above all else, he has a very short memory,
That's the big thing.
That's the big thing. Because, quarterbacks don't like to throw picks. You don't want to throw picks. You don't want to turn over the ball. Just know that it is very rare for him to throw more than 1 or 2 in the entire game. When we talked about the Rams game, the 4 picks, they almost won the game, by the way, the first Rams game, the Seahawks game, where Sam Darnold threw 4 picks. Look, he was unshakable. He was unshakable in that game. He was unshakable in this whole entire year. He was unflappable. He cannot be flapped.
That is the big thing for me when it comes. Okay, listen, the Seahawks offense has turned the ball over 28 times.
Sure.
That should be for a team that's not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so, but there's 2 points I want to make off that. The first one is what I just said a minute ago about the defense.
Right.
And the defense finds a way to fight back, and they do it because they love the guys on the other side of the ball as well. But to your point about Darnold, how many times did we see, and I'm not going to pile on Geno Smith. He's been piled on enough this year.
Yeah.
But how many times when Geno had a bad play or turnover last year, was he just despondent, yelling at somebody in the presser, watch the film, see who did it, that sort of thing.
Right.
And it just made for a really kind of a toxic environment, at least from the outside.
Sure.
What we were allowed to see. And I'm sure there was stuff that we weren't allowed to see. Obviously, that's just like any NFL locker room. But Sam, when he does make that mistake, like you said, he's unflappable, the short memory.
Mm-hmm.
He can make a big mistake. Like, he had a couple of them in that loss to the Rams.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, the win over the Rams.
Right.
But he bounced right back, and they got the points they needed to at the end of that game. You look at the way that he leads after those mistakes. He isn't blaming anybody else. There was on the miss again on 4th and goal against the Niners, first drive of the game.
Mm-hmm.
When he missed Cooper Kupp on that pass or missed maybe a wide open Jake Bobo, the first thing you saw him do is pat in his chest, say, "That's on me. That's on me."
Yeah.
And he's a leader in that way. Do you wish he turned it over a little bit less? Yeah, of course. But that leadership goes such a long way. It keeps this team even killed. And that's how they're able to overcome and navigate maybe some less than ideal circumstances at times anyway on offense.
And one thing also that you have to think about is how more improved the offensive play calling has been.
Yeah.
This team, with just a hire of Clint Kubiak, almost called him Gary Kubiak. With this hire of Clint Kubiak, we knew that the Seahawks would be dedicated to the run. even though it may not prove to be the way they win games, and they're dedicated to the run, but we know that oftentimes the run game is not putting up 200 yards in a game. That oftentimes does not happen, and it takes a lot for that to happen in general. It happened pretty close to 200 in the Rams game, not the Rams game, the Niners game.
Yeah.
On the last week of the year, I mean, the Niners couldn't stop a nosebleed on the ground, honestly. Yeah. But when you know that you don't have to throw the ball 50, 40 times a game like Geno Smith had to do last year,
right?
The turnovers go way down. I mean, you can keep the ball on the ground, you can save the ball, and you can even, phase in some more play action to keep the ball, to keep the defense off balance. And when the Seahawks run the ball, they run the ball to they're dedicated to running the ball, but also the timeliness of the runs too,
right?
To get first downs.
It's an interesting thing to look at in that way, that everything has changed.
Yeah.
And to me, and I know I've made this point on this show before, but I think when you do something as significant as what John Schneider did this offseason, you are doing it for the culture.
Yeah.
Not to steal any other cliche about it. But when you think about it, that this team won 10 games last year, and there's a lot of teams in the NFL that would have loved to have won 10 games this year.
I know. Yeah.
But he took nice.
But
you took this 10-win football team. You traded the quarterback. You traded the arguably biggest star on the team in DK Metcalf. And yet here you are, and you've won 14 games. And that's a courageous move, to take a 10-win team and say, we're going to move on from all these different things, and we're going to be even better. We're going to be 4 games and counting better.
4 games in probably the most difficult division.
Definitely the most difficult division.
The NFL. I mean, there's 3 teams, speaking of the playoffs, 3 teams from the NFC West.
In the top 6.
In the top 6.
Yeah.
And any one of those teams probably could have won the NFC South.
And that's skewed really. Exactly. I was going to say it's skewed because the Panthers get the 4 seed by. So really 3 of the top 5 teams in the NFC are in this NFC West.
Let's talk about the playoffs. The Seahawks obviously first round bye because they dominated all year. We know that. We talked about that. And Nico, just describe the odd way. I consider odd because a lot of the teams don't really. A lot of the leagues, they do their playoffs differently. So basically, we don't know who the Seahawks will play in 2 weeks because it's not a bracket.
It's the lowest seed available.
It's the lowest seed available.
Yeah. So you think about it. You look at a bracket as an NCAA tournament fan. It almost looks like they should be playing the Panthers-Rams winner.
Right.
But it's lowest seed available, and a simple way to look at it is the Packers are the 7 seed, the lowest in the NFC. If they beat the Bears, you're guaranteed to see the Packers.
Yep.
If the Niners are able to win their game against the Eagles,
yep.
You would face the Niners only if the Packers didn't also win, and so on and so forth with the Rams and on down. And the lowest or worst, so to speak, seed you could see is the 4 seed, the Panthers. They would have to beat the Rams and the Niners, and everything else would have to be chalk with the Bears and Eagles winning as well. And you think about it, you've seen 4 of the potential teams you can play. So it's either the Packers, the Niners, the Rams, or the Panthers. We saw the Panthers just 2 weeks ago. Seahawks won 27-10. Saw the Rams twice. We saw the split. Saw the Niners twice. Saw the split. The Packers, and they're a team that's a little dangerous because, we already see them beat the Bears earlier this year.
Yeah.
We know it's a team that's kind of perennially in the playoffs. In fact, there's a couple of years, 22 and 23, where they were kind of bouncing back and forth with the Seahawks for that last team in, first team out. And so that would be interesting. And of course, there's NFC championship history with them back ahead of Super Bowl 49. But, it's an interesting thing to look at because, boy, oh boy, you're talking about the Niners and Rams. We just talked about it's as tough as it gets.
It's as tough as it gets. Is there a team that you really just don't want the Seahawks to play? We're playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
The team, I'm going
to go around ahead of you because they can't play them in the divisional and just be the championship.
Sure.
The team that scares
me. So
you're
already thinking NFC championship.
Well, I'm not saying they're definitely going to win. That's
the team that scares you the most.
Because the Rams and Niners playoff game, rubber match. Sure. I mean, the Seahawks are playing at a much better level right now, but I still think the Rams are really, really good. But the team that scares me the most, I'm going to be honest with you, and this might not be a popular thing, might be a little bit of a hot take, is the Eagles.
Okay.
Because the Eagles have been there.
Yeah.
They know the road, and we've seen this so often, even in recent years with teams like the Chiefs. Like, once you win the Super Bowl, the regular season, while you still have to perform and make the playoffs, it's always a little bit different. You always see these records dip a little bit. And so any indication or anything thought that's out there because the Eagles had some struggles at points in the regular season that this team is not what they were last year. they're still pretty darn good. I mean, they're still really good.
It's crazy.
I just don't like the matchup because they have such a good defense too.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
I was kind of by the same logic, maybe about midway through the year, we saw Kansas City kind of faltering, but I was like, don't let them get in the playoffs because they just turn it on, because they have a pedigree. The Eagles have a pedigree.
Yeah.
They've got a Super Bowl winning coach, quarterback, like they're super solid,
Yeah.
With the Rams, we'd probably see another game like we saw on Thursday night.
Yeah, I think it would be an epic game. I don't know who wins.
Yeah.
I mean, Seahawks have home field advantage, and we saw the 12s help them. Mm-hmm. And maybe maybe the Seahawks broke them a little bit from the standpoint they figured something out.
Yeah. And I'm not completely worried about the Niners. We saw, like I said, they can't stop a nosebleed with that defense right now.
Yeah, that defense is an issue. The Niners are still a very talented team.
I think the Bears are another wild card also, because we just don't know where we're gonna.
The thing about the Bears, and this is my opinion on
it,
is you see talent there.
Yeah.
The only way I see the Bears getting past the Packers, quite frankly, is if they have something of like what we saw with Jaden Daniels and the Commanders last year, where it's just is so much youth and maybe being a little bit naive. Now, not the whole team.
I think maybe
there's a lot of newness there.
Yeah, a lot of big players from Caleb Williams will have to happen.
Yeah, I'm not as. And watch them go on a run now that I say this. Well, but I'm just not as sold on Chicago, and my wife's going to kill me because she's from Chicago.
Well,
but
I mean,
I don't see it at this point.
I think the Philadelphia is probably the team that we don't want to play them.
That's the team that scares me the most, along with, of course, the Rams. You'd be silly not to.
I also want to mention the Packers in general, only because they have 15 running receivers that can go off for like 100.
Yeah, listen, you're
at any point in time.
This isn't like
the NFC.
You're playing like the 16 seed in the NFC. Like this is like whoever you play. It doesn't matter who you play. It's funny. The team I would feel best about playing is the Panthers.
Yeah,
quite frankly,
and they won the NFC South.
Yeah, so it's interesting, and I'm not even going to bother looking at the AFC. It doesn't matter. Whoever you play, and just in the Super Bowl potentially. But yeah, listen, you have home field advantage. Thank goodness. Right. You're the 1 seed, and you get this week off to get some guys back like Charles Cross, newly re-signed Charles Cross, and Kobe Bryant.
Right,
all great things because you're going to need everybody.
You need everyone,
and
because the NFC is so tough.
And that's exactly it. The NFC is so tough. And you're talking about what I would call the toughest road imaginable to the Super Bowl. And it's maybe even likely is the Rams in the divisional, Eagles in the championship round. I mean, that would be the gauntlet of all gauntlets.
Yeah. I mean, so let's I know you don't want to talk about the AFC, but who if you had to pick, this is now when we actually pick who is going to the Super Bowl.
I'm going to go Seahawks.
Okay.
Against the Buffalo Bills.
Wow.
Because here's my thing, and I like going with feel and things like that. And I feel like, listen, obviously anybody who has watched any game of football this year is aware that the Patriots and the Broncos have been the class of the AFC.
Right.
But again, it's that same explanation, so to speak, that I gave about the Eagles. I'm not saying they're equally as good. I'm just saying there's something to be said for these teams that have been here before.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about Drake May's Patriots and when you're talking about Bo Nix's Broncos, this is the first go through, right? Josh Allen and the Bills have been in the playoffs. Now they have not made the Super Bowl yet. So but they know how different this is going to be. They know all of these different things. And
Denver does have home field advantage.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Denver is a hard place to play.
I think I like to go with the experience, and the Bills have been in the playoffs every year. I want to say like since 2019 on, whatever that was.
Yeah.
And so
this is their year.
They've been very close. And guess what? The team that knocks them out every year is not in it. The Kansas City Chiefs have knocked them out.
They don't have to worry about Baltimore.
4 or 5 years.
They don't have to worry about Kansas City.
And so there's some. I don't think the Bills are quite as good as they've been in recent years. This isn't just a regular season anomaly. Like they needed to make some upgrades, and they kind of largely stood pat. They've had some other issues.
Sure.
There's been some off the field stuff, Keon Coleman and things of that sort. But I think Bills and Seahawks in the Super Bowl would be a very fun game.
It would be a fun game.
That's the dark side defense against
versus
Josh Allen. That would be really cool to watch. And I would like the Seahawks odds in that game.
Yeah.
I just think when you're talking about the AFC, it's a similar argument to what I made with the Bears. Maybe the idea that this is the first run through for the Broncos and Patriots in this era with their quarterbacks and so on. And I just like Josh Allen's experience, and he's a big game player. And the team that they've been running into isn't there anymore.
The thing about Denver is they have a head coach with pedigree.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm not disputing.
So
that.
I mean, you get the home field advantage. They
what I'm saying is gospel. I'm giving you logic about what I picked. Yeah,
I get that. I say this because I love a good defensive game.
Uh-huh.
And I like a team kind of coming from almost nowhere, probably on the road a lot, to who will lead with defense. I'm looking at the Houston Texans.
Yeah.
They're the only team I think that really plays defense the way the Seahawks do, actually.
Right.
And they're very aggressive.
And that's a game a lot of 12s maybe weren't watching as closely. The Seahawks beat them on Monday Night Football here, 27-19.
Yeah.
It just so happened to be going out at the same time as Game 7 of the ALCS when the Mariners were
about
to go to the series and then lose. Maybe this can help heal some of those wounds if the Seahawks can get to the big one.
I have almost no confidence in the Patriots, and I have almost no confidence in Jacksonville. I'm a little worried about Pittsburgh just to given Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, the veteran presence there.
Sure.
But I don't think the team is overall that good. They only made it because of a couple bad kicks.
Yeah.
I think C.J. Stroud, this is a good chance for him to be like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
D'Amico Ryans, same sort of thing. I don't know who will make it through from the AFC. I do think Houston has a good chance, the best chance. You're talking about the gauntlet that Seahawks have, and I'm thinking about it. I'm just like, wow, that is kind of nuts, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, but obviously this is what you would want,
right?
You would want to earn it.
This is it's really remarkable how good the NFC has been. And to the idea, you can even go back to last year, the Seahawks winning 10 games, and it wasn't good enough.
Even two teams that didn't even make the playoffs, the Lions and Buccaneers. I mean, the Buccaneers actually beat the Seahawks early in the year in that lovely throwback game. So they're a good team, and the Lions didn't even make the playoffs at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And that's the other thing. You talk about the divisional matchups, those NFC South teams that have these rough records. Well, guess which league they were paired with for out of divisional matchups, the NFC West.
Yeah.
So, and the Panthers, listen, they already beat the Rams.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect them to be able to beat that team twice, but
you
never know.
You never know. I mean, there's almost no tape on the Panthers. I mean, there is, but like playoff Panthers,
right? Yeah. So, it's an interesting dynamic in that way. I just think that it's a cool thing to think about the Seahawks and what they're capable of because the defense is so unique. One of the things they were talking about at Wednesday this week with the press availability was the idea that Mike McDonald. This Julian Love was talking about this. Like a lot of what they're running is a nickel set, so they have two safeties high, which in theory would make it a little easier to run on them. But that defensive line is so good. Byron Murphy, Big Cat, Leonard Williams, Jaron Reed. Talking about the edges, DeMarcus Lawrence is like unbelievable.
You just named four guys that would be the lead of any defense.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's they're so stout up front that they're impossible to run on. 26 straight games, Naj, without a 100-yard rusher.
And they played against some actual dogs, like Bijan Robinson,
Jonathan Taylor.
I mean, it's
McCaffrey,
Christian McCaffrey twice. Kyron Williams. I mean, these are quality guys.
These are real. You go down the line.
They're fantasy football game breakers.
Yeah, there's guys across the league that have eaten up everybody except the Seahawks, and that's what I love about this team. This defense is so stout. It is so good that. It's funny.
And they're mostly healthy.
It's that, like I mentioned, the Eagles and Rams as the teams that most scare me. And I think it'd be a really fun matchup for my Super Bowl predictions, Seahawks and Bills. But who would you pick over the Seahawks? It's just because they've got everything you want. Maybe the offense needs to start faster. The offense needs to put up points more consistently. But I'm going to tell you now.
You just have to win games. That's all
exactly.
That matters.
You just got to find a way to win.
Yeah.
And the defense is always going to put them in a position to do that. And the other thing on top of that, you look at that Niners game, in reality, 13-3, it was a couple footsteps away from probably being 27-3.
It's true.
Jackson Smith and Jigba breaks free for that touchdown. His heel maybe by a couple inches was out of bounds. Otherwise, it's 20-3. Or maybe, that 4th and goal, if Darnold looks inside to Bobo, he's got a touchdown. Or you just take the 3 points. And Jason Myers, who was just so darn reliable all year, had a couple hiccups in that game. It didn't matter, though, because the defense picked everybody up. Just like Jason Myers picked them up at times, just like Rashid Shaheed picked them up at times, just like when the entire secondary got hurt against the Bucs. I know it was a loss, but that's when Sam and the offense picked it up. Or when the Rams were carving up the defense a little bit, Sam and the offense stepped up. Like that's the connectiveness of this team. No matter what's going on, somebody's going to help each other out, and that's something that's really truly unique and special.
To your point about the defense last game of the year. Seahawks are in the playoffs. They could have just reined it all back, but they want to win the division. They went on the road. San Francisco, 12-win team, mind you, not a touchdown.
Crazy.
Think about that for a second. I mean, and not a touchdown at all from Brock Purdy. We didn't see Brock Purdy do the
lowest points allowed this year.
And this is when they're peaking. You want to be peaking now.
There's 7 in a row.
So part of me didn't even want the bye week, honestly.
I know.
You end up getting it.
But they did a nice job practice a couple times this week.
Yeah.
They're going to watch Carlos Cross. I'm like, you're going to be watching the games? He's like, oh, yeah. He's like, I'm watching football. But
yeah,
do a little advanced scouting.
Cross just got a new deal. Congratulations to him. By the
5
way.
years, $104 million plus incentives, $75 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
Hey, who are the Seahawks hosting the divisional round? Panthers.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it'll be an upset.
Really?
I just feel like I mean,
so everything's gonna be chalk. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Win.
I think so too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going Packers.
You think so?
I think Packers.
Yeah.
I hope it's not the Rams, but
I hope it's not the Rams too.
Well, that'd be a great game.
I'm not sure if my heart can do it.
It would be a great game.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Packers.
Halfway through the Rams game, when
shout out to Austin Diaz, KOMO Photog.
Shout out to Austin. Halfway through that last Rams game, I had traded Sam Darnold and Cooper Kupp mentally in my head to other teams. I'm not gonna lie to you. So,
but they found a way. And that's all that matters. I just can't get that shot of the tight end. God, I can't remember his name. He escapes me at the Saubert. Yeah,
looking like Superman with everyone above him.
That was cool.
Him above everyone else. That was awesome. That was
you mean like
sick.
standing in the crowd?
Standing in the crowd.
Barner.
AJ Barner.
But Saubert caught the 2-point conversion.
Yes, that was sick. It was so sick.
Yeah,
it made me love those rivalry jerseys.
Yeah. I'm gonna hang that and throwback behind me at some point here.
There you go.
But that's what it is. So you say Panthers, I say Packers.
I just feel it.
I say Seahawks going to the Super Bowl to play the Bills. Do you have any thoughts before we get too deep in this?
Seahawks beat the Houston Texans.
You say so they're going to the big one.
Yeah, I told you, Nico, we got to get a parade somehow this year.
I know, right?
If it's not the Mariners, it could have been the Mariners.
It was like 65 in the Bay Area last week, and I'll take another trip down there in a couple weeks.
There you go.
So
I want a parade.
There you go.
We need Marshawn.
Well, this was fun, and certainly we'll be doing another one of these next week to break down the opponent, whether that's the Packers, Panthers, Rams, or Niners. We will be certainly breaking that down. And of course, after the game, we'll be doing our usual rapid reaction. We love the participation there. We're going to keep this rolling, hopefully. I mean, at this point, almost certainly, even if it's post-game stuff, but it's not going to be just yet. We're going to keep this rolling all the way into February. Najee, thank you.
Thank you. Thank the Seahawks, honestly.
Happy New Year.
This
is the year of the Seahawks.
Yes.
Enjoy it. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.